For a long time, the galaxy believed Earth was silent and weak. Many advanced alien civilizations had noticed Earth from far away. They sent signals, probes, and even small scout ships, but Earth never responded, not even once, to the galaxy. It seemed like Earth had no interest in joining the stars. Some thought humans were still primitive, living with old machines and no space power. Others believed Earth had destroyed itself and was now empty, but no one truly understood what was really happening behind Earth's silence. The Galactic Council, a group of many powerful alien species, had labeled Earth as non-hostile and unimportant. Their long-range scans showed a few orbiting satellites, some small space stations floating lifeless near the Moon, and only a few colonies on Mars that seemed barely working. The Council's decision was simple: Earth was not a threat. They allowed small alien merchants to pass near Earth, but no one paid much attention. There were far more dangerous and rich planets to focus on, so Earth was ignored, pushed into the shadows of galactic interest. But far from the Council's eyes, there were some who didn't agree. Alien intelligence analysts, scientists, and military officers studied Earth secretly. They found strange energy readings coming from Earth's dark side. Some drones disappeared when they crossed certain paths near Earth's orbit. There were rumors of cloaked objects, things that didn't appear on radar, but every time these suspicions were brought to the Council, they were laughed at. No civilization as weak as humans can hide anything from us, they said with pride, and so the warnings were buried under political noise and overconfidence. On Earth, the truth was very different. Humans were not weak, and they were not silent because they didn't know how to talk. They were silent because they had chosen to be. Since the early 21st century, Earth had been preparing for the future. In secret, they had learned from their own wars, from history, and from the stars. When the first alien signal was detected, humanity made a bold choice not to answer. Instead, they created a plan called Project Eclipse, a defense plan so secret even many world leaders didn't know all its details. Project Eclipse was the reason behind Earth's silence. It was designed to protect the planet at any cost. Hidden bases were built under the oceans, inside mountains, and even deep within the Moon. Satellites were replaced with decoys. True defense platforms were hidden behind cloaking technology. Drones with human AI brains patrolled the solar system without making a sound. They watched every signal, every ship, and every alien whisper. And they recorded everything, sending it back to a secret base inside a hollow asteroid near Jupiter. Generations of humans worked in silence to prepare for a day they hoped would never come. They developed weapons not for attack, but for survival. They studied alien technology, hacked distant probes, and learned how the galaxy worked. They used Earth's small size as an advantage. No one feared them, so no one looked too closely. Earth scientists worked with a single goal in mind: become invisible until the time was right. They trained pilots in low-gravity environments, taught soldiers to fight in zero-G, and built ships that looked like rocks from the outside, but were machines of war inside. Every year, Project Eclipse grew larger and smarter. But back in the galaxy, jokes about Earth became common. Aliens made fun of humans for being slow and simple. They didn't know about the dark satellites orbiting quietly above Earth. They didn't know about the deep space signals Earth was decoding. They had no idea Earth had already mapped more than 20 nearby systems using stolen alien data. Even the traders who visited Earth didn't see the truth, because Earth allowed only what it wanted them to see. Dirty cities, struggling colonies, old technology, everything was staged. The galaxy had no clue about the watchers hiding in the void. Humans who listened to every move, every broadcast, every change in ship patterns. And those watchers waited. Patiently, they had a rule given by Earth's High Council: do not reveal, do not respond, but record everything for decades. Earth gathered intel like a ghost. They knew about galactic wars, council secrets, and even alien weaknesses. But they said nothing, just watched in the dark. The galaxy thought Earth was behind. But Earth was only behind in the ways that mattered to the outside. Inside, they had grown sharper, colder, more focused. Because humans had learned something important, that silence is a weapon if used the right way, and as the watchers in the void stayed alert. Earth waited for the moment when the galaxy would knock on the wrong door, and when that happened, Earth would not speak with words. It would speak with fire, steel, and silence breaking into thunder. While the galaxy slept, thinking Earth was weak and silent, the truth was the opposite. Earth was not just watching, you was preparing. Every signal the galaxy sent, Earth listened to it, broke it down, and studied it. Every trade route, every war broadcast, every council meeting that leaked out, they watched it all. And all of it was stored in the Black Archives, a hidden database buried deep under the Antarctic ice. Only a few knew about it. And none of them lived on Earth anymore. They had been moved to off-world bases long ago, in case Earth was ever hit first. Humans understood one thing. Clearly, space was dangerous. There was no mercy, no fairness. Just power and survival. The galaxy worked on dominance, not peace. The strong ruled, and the weak were forgotten. And so, humans refused to show weakness. They didn't speak because they didn't want to draw attention. They didn't fight because they hadn't been attacked yet. But behind the silence, Earth had built something that no one expected. The Dreadnought initiative was not a myth. It was real, and it was terrifying, hidden inside hollowed asteroids. Deep under the crust of forgotten moons, Earth had built 30 massive warships, each the size of a small city. They were black, silent, and cloaked in advanced tech, stolen and reverse-engineered from alien probes to most alien sensors. They looked like rocks to human command. They were sleeping titans, waiting for the command to wake up. Each dreadnought had a name: Silent Star, Iron Warden, Echo of Earth, and so on. They were not just ships. They were mobile strongholds, powered by quantum fusion cores and armed with weapons no alien had ever seen. They carried rail cannons that could punch holes in moons. They had EMP fields that could shut down fleets. And each one carried drone armies, built to swarm and overwhelm any force. But these ships never moved, never showed themselves. They waited in silence. Like shadows in deep water, command was held by the Eclipse Council, a hidden branch of Earth's global defense network. They had only one rule: never fire first, but that didn't mean they wouldn't finish the fight. They had prepared for every possibility, from galactic invasion to biological warfare, from asteroid strikes to alien hacking attempts. And every time a new threat was detected in space, they ran new simulations. Some simulations lasted days, others took weeks. But the results were clear. If the Dreadnoughts were released, they would win. Back on Earth, people lived normal lives. They farmed, studied, worked, and aged without knowing what floated above them. The public believed space exploration had slowed due to funding. They thought Mars had failed as a colony, and that the moon was abandoned. That's what they were meant to believe. Because the real Mars base was hidden beneath a red sand, invisible from orbit, and the moon was full of underground bunkers, fusion labs, and AI testing chambers. Earth's silence wasn't just a ward. The aliens' it was to ward its own people to AI was the secret behind it all. Not the kind shown in movies, but quiet, powerful systems that handled millions of operations per second. They managed the Dreadnoughts, operated defense satellites, monitored all incoming signals. They made no noise, sent no signals, and had no names. But they were always watching. The main AI, called Oculus, lived inside a diamond core processor, floating in the center of Earth's magnetic field. It could track a ship entering the solar system before that ship even activated its own scanners. The galaxy had no idea what it was facing. To them, Earth was still a noisy blue planet spinning slowly in the backwaters of a spiral arm. They didn't know that Earth had built cloaked defense rings hidden in the shadows of its own moons. They didn't know that every mining station in the belt had weapons disguised as drilling arms. And they didn't know that Earth's true fleet had never been Scifi because it had never moved. Earth had learned the value of patience. For 50 years, they played dead. While other species showed off their strength with flashy ships and loud declarations, Earth stayed quiet and listened. They learned the names of pirate factions. They studied how the Galactic Council worked. They even learned what species were likely to betray their own allies, because knowledge was Earth's first weapon and silence was its shield. Oculus had one job: watch for a spark. A single hostile act, a broken treaty, or an invasion attempt that would be enough to awaken the sleeping fleet. And Oculus had seen the signs already. Alien ships moving closer to Mars. Encrypted transmissions near Earth's orbit that didn't match any known code. A pirate fleet pretending to be traders near Saturn's rings. The galaxy was testing Earth, and Earth was ready. They had hidden for decades, but they were not afraid. The galaxy thought they were soft and blind, but humans were survivors, and they had never stopped fighting. Just because the war hadn't started didn't mean Earth wasn't already winning. And soon, very soon, the galaxy would make its mistake, and the Dreadnoughts, the black ghosts of the void, would rise. Not to conquer, but to show the galaxy what true defense looked like. The silence would not last forever, because Earth was done waiting. For years, the galaxy kept ignoring Earth, thinking it was harmless. But one day, everything changed. The Varn Dominion, a brutal and power-hungry alien faction, made a decision that would shake the stars. They believed Earth was weak and alone, an easy target for conquest. They had attacked small colonies before, stealing resources and enslaving weaker species. Now, they turned their eyes toward Mars. They believed the human colonies there were easy prey. To them, it was just another raid, something to show their dominance. The attack came fast and without warning. 8 Varn warships appeared out of hyperspace and surrounded the Mars colony. Their ships were red, spiked, and burning with energy within minutes. Communication towers were destroyed. Oxygen farms were bombed. Hundreds of civilians ran for cover. Families hid inside underground tunnels, hoping the Varn would not find them, but the Varn were not merciful. They sent soldiers down with orders to clean the surface. The Galactic Council saw the invasion, but did nothing. Some whispered that Earth brought it on themselves by staying silent for so long. Others feared the Varn and didn't want to risk open war, so they debated, sent messages, but took no real action. Earth was alone. Or so the galaxy thought. They expected Earth to scream, beg, or try to make peace. But Earth said nothing. There were no calls for help, no messages of surrender. Instead, deep within the Earth's command base, Oculus activated a protocol. The screen lit up with red as one single word blinked awaken at the same time across the solar system. Hidden systems began to glow. Rocks that had floated quietly for years suddenly cracked open. Engines roared to life. Black armor plates unfolded. And for the first time in decades, the Dreadnoughts began to move on the far side of Jupiter. The silent star turned its massive guns toward deep space, near Saturn. The echo of Earth opened its hangars, releasing wave after wave of combat drones from behind the moon. The Iron Warden launched without warning. Leaving behind only shadows, each dreadnought moved without sound. Invisible to alien scanners, they didn't broadcast a warning, didn't answer any calls. They had only one mission: erase the threat. The Varn on Mars had no idea what was coming. They celebrated as they destroyed the last communication outpost. Their commander laughed, telling his soldiers they would soon take Earth too. But then, the sky above Mars changed. A strange energy wave pulsed through the clouds. Static filled their radios, and their ships began to shake. One Varn officer screamed as all their targeting systems went dark. Then the Dreadnoughts arrived. Out of the sky, black giants appeared like demons of space. The Silent Star fired first. One shot from its rail cannon tearing through the lead Varn ship. There was no explosion, just silence. As the Varn ship folded in half and drifted apart before the others could react. Drones filled the air, small, fast, and deadly. They moved like a storm, cutting through shields and armor. The Varn tried to return fire, but their weapons failed. An EMP blast from the Iron Warden had fried their systems before they even noticed. Within 47 seconds, the battle was over. 8 Varn ships destroyed. Hundreds of enemy soldiers gone. Not a single human life lost in the counterattack, and the Dreadnoughts still didn't speak. But the whole galaxy saw it because Earth wanted them to. Oculus had ordered every camera drone to record the battle. The footage was sent to every known galactic communication channel. In crystal clear detail, the Council watched how Earth had hidden its true strength. They saw the precision, the silence, the brutal speed of Earth's response. And then, a single message appeared on every screen in every language. It said only this: "We are not your enemy, lest you make us one." The galaxy was frozen. Fear spread faster than light. Species that once mocked Earth now sat in silence. Replaying the video again and again, they tried to understand how Earth had hidden all of this. How those giant ships were built without being seen. How Earth had stayed silent for so long, but responded with such force. Some called it a miracle. Others called it a warning. The Varn Dominion, once so confident, now faced a fear they had never known. They sent ships to investigate the wreckage, but found nothing. The Dreadnoughts had already vanished, hidden once again among the stars. Their engines left no trace, their weapons no heat signatures. It was like they had never been there. But the galaxy knew better now. Earth was not defenseless. Earth was not sleeping. Earth had chosen silence. But it was a silence full of teeth. The question now wasn't whether Earth would fight again. The question was, who would dare test them next? And as the Dreadnoughts returned to their hidden stations, as the humans on Mars rebuilt their colony with stronger walls, one truth echoed across every corner of the stars. The galaxy had made a mistake, and Earth had just shown everyone what happens when you poke the quiet one. After the attack on Mars and the sudden response from Earth's hidden fleet, the galaxy was shaken for the first time in many centuries. The Galactic Council did not know what to say. They had watched Earth do the impossible: destroy an entire Varn battle group in less than a minute, without warning, without speaking, and without asking for help. It was something no one expected from a species that never answered calls. They now realized Earth had power, real power, and it had been hiding it all along. The Dreadnoughts, those massive ships with black hulls and no visible markings, had become legends overnight. Alien news networks played the footage again and again. Children in distant star systems whispered stories about the Ghost Fleet. Military leaders from across the galaxy held emergency meetings. They asked the same questions: where did Earth get this technology? How long had they been building it? And most importantly, what else were they hiding? Some alien leaders wanted to send spy ships closer to Earth. Others suggested forming an alliance, hoping to gain Earth's trust. But the Varn Dominion was not done. Their pride was hurt, their reputation damaged. They couldn't allow a silent world like Earth to embarrass them so easily. So the Varn sent another message, this one filled with rage and threats. They promised revenge. They warned Earth to surrender its technology or face total destruction. But Earth didn't answer. Instead, they released something else, the silent broadcast. This was not a threat, not even a message of war. It was a calm voice, spoken in perfect galactic standard. The voice said, "We are not interested in ruling the stars. We do not seek war. But we will finish it if brought to our doorstep. Our silence was peace. Our strength is patience. And our defense is ready." And just like that, the message ended, leaving the galaxy in a strange, uncomfortable silence. While most aliens were afraid, a few were curious. Smaller species that had suffered under larger empires began to look at Earth differently. If Earth could defeat the Varn in seconds, maybe Earth could protect them too. Messages started coming in quiet requests for talks, alliances, trade, and protection. Earth's response was always the same: "We are listening." But Earth never revealed the location of its dreadnoughts. Then the dreadnoughts never docked. They stayed in the shadows of planets, behind moons, under asteroid belts, watching on. Earth, the public, had finally learned the truth. The footage of the Mars battle had been shared across all human networks. People were shocked, amazed, and proud for years. They thought their governments had given up on space, but now they knew the truth humanity had been preparing all along. There were celebrations, but also fear. If Earth had such power, then what kind of threats had they been preparing for? What danger was out there that required ships the size of cities hidden in the dark? In a small control station deep under the Pacific Ocean, General Amina Gray watched the stars. She was one of the few people who had full access to Project Eclipse. She had trained half her life in silence. She knew the name of every dreadnought, every pilot, every silent satellite in orbit, and now she had one job: to decide if Earth should stay hidden or show its face to the galaxy. Her council debated every hour. Receiving reports from Oculus, one day a message came through that changed everything. A fleet of unknown ships had entered Earth's solar system, but they were not from the Varn, and they were not council ships either. These ships were old, rusted, and covered in strange markings. They didn't follow galactic flight patterns, and they didn't respond to hails. They drifted toward Neptune's orbit, slowly and silently. Some believed they were scavengers. Others feared they were pirates. But one thing was clear: they were watching. General Gray didn't wait. She activated 3 dreadnoughts: Siren Warden, Obsidian Trail, and Shadowborn. Each ship powered up silently, their weapons locked but not armed. They positioned themselves just far enough to be signed, but not close enough to fire. And then Earth did something new. They opened communication not with words, but with a visual broadcast. It showed the Mars colony rebuilding, humans helping, injured civilians, alien volunteers working side by side. And in the corner of the screen, the dreadnoughts hovered, unmoving. The strange fleet paused. They sent back a signalless single line of text in ancient code. It said, "We thought you were sheep." Earth replied instantly, "Then you've never met a wolf." The fleet turned away and vanished into deep space. No battle was fought, no weapons fired. But the message was clear: had just won another fight with nothing but presence back. In the Galactic Council, more members called for Earth to be given a seat, but Earth declined again. They did not want to join a system that allowed the Varn to attack without punishment. Instead, Earth offered something else: a new agreement, the Neutral Alliance Accord. Earth would protect any species who agreed to peaceful exploration and mutual defense. No empires, no domination, only unity under protection. Dozens of smaller planets signed within days. They wanted Earth's dreadnoughts watching their skies. They believed in Earth not just because of its power, but because Earth had waited quietly for so long, only rising when truly needed. And the dreadnoughts, they remained in the stars, never speaking, always waiting. Proof that Earth may be silent, but never blind, never weak, and never alone again. After Earth revealed the true power of the dreadnoughts, the galaxy was no longer the same. Fear and respect spread from one star system to another. Many species who had once laughed at humans now watched them with wide, cautious eyes. But it wasn't just fear that changed things. It was the way Earth stayed calm. They didn't attack first, they didn't send demands, and they didn't ask for anything in return. They just said one thing: we are not your enemy, lest you make us one. The message hit harder than any weapon because it showed that Earth wasn't acting like other rising powers. They didn't want to rule, they wanted peace, but they were ready to defend it with full force. The Galactic Council met in panic, unsure of how to respond. Some members wanted to welcome Earth and learn from them. Others, especially powerful empires, saw Earth as a threat to their control. One council leader from the Dorati Empire shouted, "They are not peaceful, they are dangerous." But another, from the peaceful Shalai race, whispered, "Maybe they are exactly what we need." Behind the scenes, chaos was building. Many small planets began sending private messages to Earth. They begged for protection, for alliance, for guidance. They had lived in fear under larger empires for generations. Now they saw a new light, a new force that didn't conquer, but shielded. Earth responded slowly, carefully, asking each world only one question: do you seek peace? And will you protect it? Those who said yes were added to the Neutral Alliance Accord. It was a new agreement, made not in the halls of the Council, but in the quiet void of space. Under this accord, Earth would watch their skies, defend them from invaders, and help them build strong defenses. In return, they promised not to attack others, not to expand through war, and not to lie. It was simple, clean, and powerful. And just like that, Earth became a leader not by force, but by choice. But not everyone was happy. The Varn Dominion was angry, humiliated, and now losing influence. Some of their trade partners had joined Earth's accord. Even some of their own planets started questioning their leadership. The Varn knew they had to act, not just with war, but with fear. So they began spreading lies. They claimed Earth had built a mind control weapon. They said the Dreadnoughts were powered by stolen alien children. They tried everything to make Earth look like a monster. But Earth didn't argue. Instead, they opened their systems. They invited scientists, reporters, and peaceful diplomats to visit Earth and see the truth. They showed their labs, their ships, their cities. Nothing was hidden. Aliens saw humans working beside AI, children learning about galactic history, engineers building clean power systems. No weapons in the streets, no slaves, no propaganda. Just a planet that had chosen to grow quietly in the dark, waiting for the right time to stand up. More worlds joined the accord, and Earth's silent fleet continued to grow. New dreadnoughts were built by volunteers from other species. The designs were improved. The crews were mixed human. Alien AI. These ships were not just human now. They were symbols of unity. They were no longer just Earth's dreadnoughts. They were the galaxy's guardians. But they still followed one rule: never fire first. Then came a moment no one expected. A Varn battle group attacked a peaceful mining station protected under Earth's accord. The station belonged to a small race called the Kellen, who had no army, no fighters. The Varn believed Earth wouldn't respond quickly enough. They thought the Dreadnoughts couldn't be everywhere at once. They were wrong. 2 minutes after the first attack, a signal was sent, and 3 Dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace right above the station. They didn't speak, didn't ask questions. They activated shields around the station and scanned the Varn ships. The Varn commander demanded they stand down. Earth's ships didn't answer. Instead, they projected the silent broadcast across all channels: "We are not your enemy, lest you make us one." The Varn fired and Earth responded. This time, they didn't erase the ships in silence. They disabled them, one by one, careful not to kill unless it was necessary. Drones entered the ships, rescued prisoners, shut down engines. and locked weapons, it was precise, clean, and fast. The battle was over in 4 minutes, and then Earth did something that shocked everyone. They let the Varn survivors go. Their ships were returned with all data systems erased. No punishment. No torture, just a message burned into their central screens. Your war ends when your lies do. This action made the galaxy stop and think. Earth was strong, but also merciful. They could destroy, but they chose not to. They could rule. But they refused. More species now believed in Earth's mission, not out of fear, but out of hope, and the Dreadnoughts. They returned to their dark homes, floating in silence once more. But now, every empire knew one thing. The silence wasn't weakness, was strength, a strength that watched, waited, and protected. And that strength belonged to Earth. After the battle at the mining station, the galaxy was no longer divided. Everyone had seen it, the speed, the precision, the mercy. Earth's dreadnoughts had once again proven that they were not just machines of war. They were guardians, protectors. And now they were no longer feared by the weak, they were trusted. The Neutral Alliance Accord grew fast. More planets joined. More species asked for Earth's protection. Even some ex-soldiers from rival empires defected and offered to train. Under Earth's command, the Varn Dominion was falling apart. Their lies had failed. Their ships had been humiliated. And now their people were asking questions. Many Varn civilians had seen the truth for themselves. They no longer believed the stories told by their leaders. Some started to rebel. Others left their worlds and fled to Accord-controlled space. Earth welcomed them not with open arms, but with open minds. Every species was judged by their actions, not their history. Meanwhile, in the deep core of Project Eclipse, the Oculus AI was calculating something new. Patterns in the stars, changes. In energy waves, movements near old war zones, something was happening far beyond the Council's territory. Something dangerous. Oculus had no emotions, but it recognized danger with perfect clarity. It sent a warning to Earth's high command, only 6 words. Movement detected. Origin unknown. Prepare accordingly. General Amina Gray read the message in silence. Her face didn't change, but her heart beat faster. Oculus didn't warn unless it mattered. She called for an emergency meeting. Only 5 people were allowed to attend. All of them knew the risk of what was coming. They had trained for it, feared it, and now it was here. A forgotten signal had returned. A ghost frequency last detected over 90 years ago, before Earth went silent, before the Dreadnoughts were even completed. That signal belonged to something the early space explorers had encountered once. Something that had vanished after one brief, deadly contact. Back then, Earth's first probe had gone too far into a system marked uninhabited. But what it found was not empty. It was a black, zona-dead system with no light, no stars, and no life, except for one thing. A massive object had risen from a dead planet. It had no name, no voice, and no shape humans could describe. The probe vanished within seconds. Only one image was transmitted back: a spiral of metal and flesh, moving in the dark. After that, Earth marked the zone as forbidden. They had called it the Null. And now, the Null had returned. Oculus tracked the energy readings as they moved closer. They were not flying through space, they were bending it, like water flowing. Backward, the stars behind them flickered and disappeared. The Dreadnoughts were powerful, but even they had never fought anything like this. It wasn't an army. It was something worse, a force that erased what it touched. Earth didn't panic. They didn't send a message. They didn't ask for help. Instead, they began to prepare. All Dreadnoughts were pulled out of hiding. For the first time, the entire fleet gathered together, 30 ships, each one massive, dark, and silent. They lined up in a defensive formation near the edge of the Accord space. Aliens watched in awe as they moved like giants preparing for battle. Each dreadnought was powered to full strength, weapons loaded, shields raised, And yet, the silence remained. No speeches, no music, just the hum of power filling the void. Then, Earth did something unexpected. They called a meeting not with the Council, but with the people. A public broadcast was made, sent across every Accord planet. It showed General Amina Gray standing inside the command center of the Iron Warden. She didn't wear medals, didn't carry a weapon. She only said one thing. "We do not know what is coming, but we know who we are. We are protectors. We are human." The message lasted 11 seconds, but it was shared 1 billion times. It became a symbol of unity, not fear. People from every species volunteered to help. Engineers built faster escape pods. Farmers grew emergency food supplies. Doctors prepared hospitals. It was not a call to war, but a call to stand together. The null was still far. But the Dreadnoughts began testing their systems against unknown. Energy Oculus ran millions of simulations, trying to understand how to fight something that didn't follow the rules of physics. And slowly, new strategies formed. Earth didn't just plan to fight, they planned to adapt. They had done it before, and they would do it again. In the middle of all this, a small alien girl, a refugee from a destroyed Varn colony, stood outside a training base on Luna. She looked at a dreadnought in the sky and asked her teacher, "Is that ship strong enough to stop the dark thing?" Her teacher smiled and answered, "No, little one, it's not just the ship. It's the people inside it." The Dreadnoughts were not just metal. They carried the hopes of every species that wanted peace. And now, they were preparing for a battle that might decide the future of the galaxy. A battle not for power, but for survival. Earth had been silent for too long. Now, the silence had become a wall. And behind that wall stood the last defense the galaxy didn't know it needed. And as the null moved through the stars, Earth watched, calculated, and waited. Because the next time the silence broke, it would shake the galaxy once again. The stars were quiet, but the tension across the galaxy was growing. The null was coming, and everyone could feel it. It didn't send messages, didn't talk, and didn't follow any laws of space. It moved like a shadow swallowing light, bending gravity and destroying anything in its path. Planets near the edge of the known systems had gone dark. No signals, no survivors, just silence. Oculus had predicted this, and Earth had already moved the Dreadnoughts into a final defensive line. Every Dreadnought was now awake, armed, and ready. They floated near the borders of the Neutral Alliance like black mountains in the sky. 30 ships, each one carrying enough power to end a war in seconds. But this time, they were not facing ships or armies. They were facing something the galaxy didn't understand, something old, older than the Galactic Council, older than Earth's first rockets. It was not just a threat, it was a force. General Amina Gray stood on the bridge of the Silent Star. Her eyes fixed on the data streams. The room was filled with quiet voices, blinking lights, and cold steel walls. Oculus spoke directly into her ear. Null arrival estimated in 4 hours. Energy pattern unstable. No known weakness. She nodded without fear. The time had come, and she knew there was no running. On the planet Kira 6, a small colony under Earth's protection, people looked up at the sky. They saw the Dreadnoughts floating above like guardians of the stars. Children asked their parents, "Are we going to be okay?" And the parents answered, "As long as the humans are watching, we are safe." Even species that once distrusted Earth now sent prayers to them. Because when all others had hidden, Earth had stood in the way. The null arrived just past the red dwarf star Laka Prime. It was not a ship, was a storm. A twisting mass of black and silver, pulsing with strange energy. It consumed everything: asteroids, light, and time itself. The Council had no idea how to respond, but Earth did. The Dreadnoughts formed a circle around the incoming void. They launched probes, deployed satellites, and sent warnings to nearby systems. Every captain was ready. Every system was online. The command was simple, given by General Gray herself: hold the line. The first contact happened just beyond Pluto's orbit. A small probe was swallowed by the null, and then nothing. No signal, no trace, just pure darkness. Then the energy wave hit. Faster than light, the Dreadnoughts responded, raising quantum shields and counterfields. The sky above Earth turned bright as stars flickered like candles in a storm. One Dreadnought, Iron Warden, took the first direct hit. Its hull cracked, systems overloaded, but it held its position inside. The crew worked fast, sealing off damaged sections, rerouting power. They didn't scream, didn't panic. They had trained for this. The ship fired a gravity cannon. And for the first time, the null slowed down. It didn't stop, but it reacted, and that was a sign it could feel force. Oculus updated the strategy instantly. If the null could be slowed, maybe it could be contained. The Dreadnoughts began to work as one, sinking firepower, redirecting energy. Drones swarmed the void, measuring everything, sending data in real time. The black storm pushed forward, but it was no longer moving freely. It was meeting resistance. Across the galaxy, people watched the battle live. They saw the ships of Earth glowing like stars, standing between the dark and the light. Alien scientists took notes. Engineers cried. Soldiers saluted their screens. And in the middle of it all, Earth stood firm. The null tried to break the line. It sent out pulses of dark matter, waves of silence that crushed sound and signal. But Earth's AI systems adapted. Oculus created a new firewall in seconds, rewriting its own code in real time. No other AI in the galaxy could do that, because Oculus wasn't just built to think, it was built to evolve. One by one, the Dreadnoughts began using a risky move: core fusion blasts. They overloaded sections of their reactors to create bursts of raw light and energy. It was dangerous, and some parts of the ships melted, but it worked. The null screamed not with sound, but with distortion. It rippled, bent, and shrank back just a little. It was the first time the galaxy saw it bleed, and it was Earth that made it happen. General Gray gave one last order: all units push forward. The Dreadnoughts moved as one, engines burning, weapons locked, shields flaring. And they charged into the heart of the storm, not to escape, not to hide, but to meet the darkness face to face. What happened next was chaos. Energy exploded, space cracked, and stars dimmed. But one thing was clear: would not break. And as the final wave of drones entered the null, carrying a bomb built from neutron cores and anti-singularity fields, there was a flash so bright it could be seen from other systems, and then silence. The Dreadnoughts floated quietly again, damaged but still standing. The null was gone. Not destroyed, but pushed back. It had learned something that day. That Earth was no longer silent. That silence had become strength, and now the galaxy knew. If darkness returned, Earth would be waiting. The battle was over. The stars were quiet again. After the final explosion of light, the massive force known as the null had vanished into deep space. No one knew if it was truly gone or just hiding again. But for now, peace had returned, and the galaxy took its first calm breath in many years. The Dreadnoughts drifted above the edge of the neutral alliance like silent warriors. They were damaged, scorched, and dented, but they were still there. Every one of them had survived. Engineers worked quickly, patching up broken hulls, rebooting power cores, and repairing drones. Alien and human crews worked side by side, speaking in many tongues, but united by one mission: recovery. Inside the Silent Star, General Amina Gray stood at the main viewing window. She looked at the stars beyond, and then down at Earth's blue surface far below. She didn't speak for a long time. Her hands rested calmly behind her back. Finally, she whispered to herself, "We held the line. Oculus, the AI that had guided humanity for decades, appeared on a nearby screen. Its voice was calm and steady. Null presence is no longer detected. Probability of return certain. General Gray nodded slowly. "We'll be ready," she replied. No matter how long it takes, the galaxy was watching. Every broadcast channel, every space station, and every colony replayed the battle. Millions of aliens had seen what Earth was capable of. But more than that, they had seen why Earth fought not for power, not for control, but to protect. In a small refugee school on the moon, children from many different species gathered in front of a hologram. It showed images of the Dreadnoughts rising from the dark, defending a peaceful colony. A young boy from the Varn race who had once feared humans now raised his hand. "Teacher," he asked, "are humans the strongest in the galaxy now?" The teacher smiled. "No," she said gently, "but they are the bravest." Across the Neutral Alliance, leaders from every world sent messages of thanks to Earth. They offered gifts, technology, and permanent alliances. But Earth declined. Most of them, their answer was clear. We protect because we must, not because we want anything in return. Still, Earth did make one request, that the Neutral Alliance become more than just a defense pact. They wanted it to become a symbol of peace, of fairness, of unity. So a new plan was born, the Accord Council. It would include representatives from every protected world, including humans, not to rule, but to guide. To prevent future war, and to prepare for whatever came next. Back on Earth, people celebrated quietly. There were no parades, no loud speeches, just candles in windows and flags in gardens. They knew the cost of what had happened. Many soldiers had been injured, many ships nearly destroyed, but they also knew they had earned the respect of the galaxy. Not by shouting, but by standing tall when it mattered most. In the shadows of Jupiter, the dreadnought Echo of Earth remained on watch. Its crew had decided not to return to Earth just yet. They wanted to stay near the outer systems, to make sure the Null didn't come back without warning. They didn't ask for rest, they asked for duty, inside the command center. A young alien officer named Lyra watched the stars through a long-range scope. She had grown up on a planet that once feared Earth. Now, she wore the Earth symbol on her chest. She turned to her captain and said, "I never thought I'd be here," the captain replied. "Neither did we," and smiled. The symbol of Earth had changed. It was no longer just a blue planet in a forgotten arm of the galaxy. Now, it stood for something greater: hope, defense, and silent strength. Children in faraway systems drew pictures of dreadnoughts on their school tablets. They called them guardians, giants, and sometimes just the protectors. One message arrived from a far-off mining colony that had just joined the Accord. It simply said, "To Earth, thank you for not letting us disappear." And still, the dreadnoughts did not dock. They floated in quiet patrol routes, just close enough to be seen. Their presence brought comfort to many and fear to a few, because now the galaxy knew if darkness ever came again, Earth would not hesitate. Back on Earth, General Gray finally stepped out of her command room for the first time in weeks. She stood on a hill overlooking the ocean. A little girl ran up to her and gave her a flower. "Did you stop the bad thing?" the girl asked. General Gray knelt and smiled. "We all did," she said. Together, the stars above Earth shined brighter than ever. Not because of the light, but because of what they now meant. They were no longer cold, endless space. They were connected by trust, sacrifice, and unity. And in the silence that followed the battle, the galaxy remembered something important. That true power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it waits, watches, and protects, just like Earth, just like the dreadnoughts, and just like the quiet promise carried in every human heart. We will never fire first, but we will always stand last.